Take a moment and dream with me and ask, what if? What if a tiny group of people had disproportionate control of culture, news, social media, politicians, banking, tech, finance, your nation's policy, and had married almost every presidential child for decades? What if a tiny group had subverted and enslaved your people? Well, let's dream on. What if every aspect of your culture was so manipulated that your television, radio, smartphone, teachers, and even family became completely immersed in the message of a machine orchestrated by this group, where even basic history was used to deceive? If so, wouldn't you be living in Orwell's 1984? And what if we all knew this so intrinsically that comedians joked about it right to our faces without ever connecting the basic dots as to who they were? What if that group's members even acknowledged it in front of you? What if, as a result of their control over politics, elections became meaningless? After all, if both your liberal and conservative options had their allegiances purchased by this outside force, does it even matter who wins an election? And what if that group owned the media so thoroughly that this control was always overlooked and dissents were instantly shut down? What if, while overlooking the obvious group in control, other villains, like white supremacy, were propagandized to deflect from the real elites, to keep people fighting one another rather than even noticing their hateful oppressors? And what if that group had constructed cultural Marxism as a means to drive culturally subversive agendas like porn, feminism, and racism that align with communistic ideals as a way to destroy the heritage and family dynamics that built the healthy, productive society they aimed to destroy? And what if that control extended across social media platforms they almost universally owned and ensured all conservative voices were merely controlled opposition that shaped public opinion without ever allowing the sheep to notice who really controlled their minds? Well then, what if through that control and power, they monopolized excessive levels of the wealth of your nation, while through nepotism and bigotry, sharing and passing it on only to people in their club? Would it upset you if this group made up 60% of the nation's richest people? And what if with these riches, these individuals positioned themselves to take control of all companies to ensure they could insert their chosen friends while destroying anybody or anything opposed to their worldviews? After all, if you can't become financially independent, you're forever enslaved. So what if, speaking of wealth, your nation's entire banking system had been architected not to protect its people, but to forever enslave them as a nation into endlessly covering the costs for the ultra-rich and foreign governments, perhaps like our Federal Reserve? And what if that tiny group of people used that control to shape opinions of the masses in favor of policies extremely detrimental to the native people of that country? What if they propagandized the masses to vote against their own wages and for the destruction of their own culture via endless immigration of poor, violent migrants? And what if that group was so bold with their control that they celebrated it right in your face, encouraging their people to embrace, continue, and further this monopoly on power? Would that concern you? Or if they went so far as to celebrate white extinction, enslavement, and genocide? And what if these same patterns had emerged previously in other nations, resulting in conflict and expulsions as the same turmoil and poverty had been pushed on generations of the past? And what if that group, to cover up these historical patterns, had constructed elaborate, demonstrably dishonest stories to deflect any and all critiques? What if those stories contained indefensible plot holes? And what if that history was merely a projection to cover up their prior wrongdoings and to obscure truths about their aspirations for world domination? What if terms they created, like the final solution, were entirely, intentionally misattributed? What if that ideology was once put in place under the rule of that group, only to result in the worst recorded genocide in history? A genocide most are completely ignorant to, as it's not taught in schools or propagandized by Hollywood, perhaps due to aforementioned control. And what if that group has commit multiple genocides, all driven by the same ethnic hatred and a belief of racial superiority? And what if that group was almost universally in control of a global vaccine that was rolled out and coerced into the arms of the masses by controlled politicians and media? What if that vaccine was now resulting in endless illnesses and deaths for all but those in that group? What if that same group used historical atrocities like slavery and the Holocaust to justify endless hatred of the host whites while hiding their involvement in precisely those injustices? What if they were the ones who commit genocide in World War II and enslaved the majority of Africans? And what if you never learned any of these truths, as Hollywood and academia were entirely manipulated to ensure they remain buried? And what if all in power to change it, were blackmailed or assassinated by a global pedophile ring run in coordination with corrupt politicians? What if free speech was continuously being limited and restricted to ensure these types of questions weren't even allowed to be asked? What if even right-wing politicians groveled down to this same group to demand people's silence? What if it was made illegal like in Europe? What if you've never heard these questions? What if you've never seen this page as X hides it? Well, it would make sense, as it's clearly censored at every turn, because I ask these obvious questions. But now you know. Now you'll start to see these obvious patterns. So what next? And what if even speaking this truth puts me at risk of shadow banning, suspension, or ejection from social media? If so, it still must be stated because truth matters. So please share this. Join this cause. Spread the word. Awaken the masses. White existence depends on it. Remember when I asked you to dream? What if you don't have to? Because what if this is your nightmare? Well, it's time to wake up, to realize the dystopia, and to demand an end to this societal slumber. But first, we have to get everyone around to simply ask, what if?
Yeah, so it's been a while from my between my shows here, but as you can see, I relocated. I'm no longer in the same place, and as soon as they target me, I'm gone, man. Can't get me. Anyway, so what's going on in the world? Lots, man. Trump, for some reason, wanted Carney, the Liberals in Canada. He interfered in our election with the 51st state crap. And because of that, it wasn't liberal against conservative here, like the two political parties. It was Canadian liberal against the United States Republican, against Donald Trump. So by putting himself on a ballot, essentially, he ensured the liberal victory. He did the same thing in Australia. So what's the game plan here? Honestly, I think probably it makes it easier for the douchebaggery that, Mr. Cheeto and the kosher crew here are trying to pull. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because everything, they're under the Jew curse, man. Everything they do blows up in their faces. Like literally everything. Don't believe me? Like, look at this. He has woken up everyone. Well, maybe not everyone, but we're getting there, to the Jew.
The thing, there's two schools of thought on Trump versus Kamala. The school of thought, if Kamala would have gone in, is it would have triggered acceleration. So there would have been an accelerationist move. Maybe we would have actually done something. The people would have stood up, and done something, taken to the streets, whatever standing up implies. And the other school of thought is mine, that I tend to veer on this side, is it's actually a good thing that Donald Trump got in, because it'll finally be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Because people, if Kamala had gotten in, people would blame the Democrats. They would say our country's going to shit because Kamala Harris got in, and if we can just get our guy in, we'll be good. We will save everything. So that'll keep people in this forever cycle of believing the system, trusting this two-party system, and not realizing it's actually the Jews playing the strings of all these parties, that the parties it's BS, okay? It's the Jew that you need to look at. Again, if Kamala Harris would have gotten in, it would have been a disaster, but they would have said, we just got to get our guy in. Well, we've got our guy in now. So maybe this will finally have people break out of this mindset that it's a two-party system, and they'll actually be starting to realize, okay, we got our guy in. The country's still going to shit. What's going on? So now we're going to look beyond the parties. I'm sick of looking at blaming the Democrats, because I can't blame the Democrats anymore because we've got our guy in. And so they will go looking for somebody else to blame. And when they go looking and they go down rabbit holes, they will stumble across the Jew. So I think getting Trump in is the best thing. If Kamala Harris would have gotten in, people would have been convinced that we just have to get our guy in, and we would have been forever on this hamster wheel. No one would have ever broken out of that. Because Trump has let people down, because he's not fulfilling his campaign promises, because we're not getting mass deportations, because the only deportations we are getting are for anti-Semites, because he's so going all in for Israel, kissing Israel's ass, having Netanyahu around, which no one likes, by the way, not a good look, bad PR move. People are finally realizing, okay, our guy is in, what's going on? So, in my opinion, getting Trump in was the best thing for America. Plus, we get some better things than we would have gotten under Kamala. Okay, Kamala would have pushed more gun regulation. She was already saying she wanted to get AR-15s off the street, okay, and assault weapons off the street. So with Kamala, we would have gotten bad stuff. Plus, people would have been convinced that it's just because the Democrats got in. It's not about the left and right. That's so 2000, okay? But it's true. It's true. So honestly, W Trump. Thank you, Trump, for disappointing us all. So we finally found the Jew. Okay?
I love that. Thank you, Trump, for disappointing us all because we finally found the Jew. Hilarious, isn't it? You know what? Everybody is waking up. Here's Colonel Douglas McGregor. He was actually a Trump advisor. And he is thoroughly disappointed, as we all are.
But, what is wrong with President Trump? I've got to tell you something. This is not the man I voted for. This is not an American first president. I think President Trump is actually very confused and uninformed. And what's happened is an enormous waste of time, money, and energy. And ultimately, we once again look ridiculous. We haven't even talked about the tariff catastrophe, which makes us look foolish and stupid. I was pleased when Elon Musk referred to Mr. Navarro as Mr. Retardo, because it's not far off, pretty damn accurate. So, I don't know what's going on, except to say, I think the administration is in meltdown. There is no strategy. Everything is impulse driven, Clayton. In other words, whatever the impulse is on a given day, and a lot of that depends on President Trump and what he decides, but no one has sat down and said, this is a course that we're now going to chart. We have identified our interests. We're going to get back on track and pursue those interests. But that hasn't happened. I see no evidence that it's about to happen. Everything, again, is impulse. Well, today I woke up and I decided that I'm going to give Rocket Man another chance. Or I woke up today and I've decided I've had enough of Zelensky. It's over for him. That's all fine, well, and good. That's not a strategy. We need a strategic approach. And this is the thing that is hurting us overseas. People want stability and predictability from the United States. They're not getting it. They hoped for a dramatic change when Biden left because the only predictability there was the wrong course of action at every turn and bankrupt America. They were hoping that Trump would come in and recognize that we're in a lot of trouble here at home. Financially, economically, the last thing we need is to be engaged very much overseas. And the last thing we ought to be doing is promoting conflict, violence, or crisis anywhere. So, I think the whole America first thing has turned out to be a huge disappointment. It's not there.
So maybe we needed this big disappointment. Maybe, all the people, including myself, I was one of them, man. I don't hide anything. And, as you know, when I'm wrong, I can admit it. I was trusting the plan. I honestly thought that good things would happen when Trump came in, but I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing, I do see, because I'm a silver lining kind of guy. I'm seeing people waking up en masse, especially white people. And I've been calling this for a long time. We the people are the storm. Even back in the Q days, I was the one that brought that out. I coined that phrase. We the people are the storm. Because we are. And, all of that might be bullshit as far as the Q plan goes. But the revolution, that looks like it's at the door.
Come on, man. We are having enough of this. And my friend, we are just getting started. You see, the white race has been peaceful and quiet for far too long. We have a lot of patience, but I think our patience has run out. You see, we have tried to appease the other races, allowed them in our nations, enacted social and political policies which advantage them above our own sons and daughters. In turn, they have taken our kindness and mistaken it for weakness. They have grown arrogant. They enact violence upon our sons and daughters in our own nations, while calling us names and mocking us. They have forgotten who we are. They have forgotten that we are the conquerors of the world. We will have to show them and make them remember again who we are. So stick around. We're just getting started, friend.
The rising frequency of anarchist and communist violence in the streets can lead in only one direction: discontent and a rising white proclivity toward violence on their own behalf. The time for talk has long since passed, as has the time of intellectualism. Action is what is needed most in these trying times, and that action must be driven towards our white revolution. Do not get bogged down with the nostalgia for days gone by. Instead, channel that nostalgia into action. Bring about that glorious world that could have been through revolutionary action. It is an honor that we should live in such times, that the existence of our people rests upon our shoulders is the most supreme of gifts. Times like these are what birth heroes. The moment you feel any fear or doubt, strike it from your heart. Understand that if it is not us, it will be no one. Embrace the chaos, and from its ashes a new world shall arise, beautiful and pure, to victory, white man!
Hail victory. You know what? Maybe we needed this kick in the ass. This understanding that ain't no one coming to save us but us. But you know what? We don't need anyone else. And we are so back, man. Check this out. This is Canada, 2025.
Shiloh Hendricks! Did nothing wrong! Shiloh Hendricks! Did nothing wrong! Shiloh Hendricks! Did nothing wrong!
Also in 2025, Italy. Oh, this is hilarious. Like, this is one of the best videos I've seen in a while. We got Ezra Levant from Rebel Jews, a Canadian news outlet that run by Jews. So they're right-wing Jews during COVID, and they came across as on our side, but then, of course, the veil came off, and we could all see that they're just subversive. They always are. But there's Ezra Levant going to Ireland to talk to the leader of the National Socialists in Ireland. And, man, this is how all Jews should be treated. This is awesome.
What did the cops say?
Don't talk to the Jews.
You don't talk to the Jews?
Yeah. No.
Well, most of our viewers are non-Jewish.
Well, you are, so I don't talk to Jews.
Okay, well, talk through me to my Christian
No,
viewers.
I'm not talking to Jews.
Well, you're a disgrace.
Nothing wrong with National Socialism.
Oh, my
National
God.
Socialism knew how to deal with people like you.
Now, besides the obvious genocide support, the proof that Trump is down with the Jews is that he lies about everything. Everything. Mr. Great Deal Maker, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this peace in 24 hours. Yeah, that didn't happen. Oh, I'm gonna do a deal with Russia. That didn't happen. And he got played like a fiddle, man. Like, he thinks he walks around like he's got all this respect. He doesn't. Putin made him wait for a long time. This is hilarious.
So this just in, Vladimir Putin humiliated Donald Trump this morning. Trump and Putin had a phone meeting scheduled, and Putin made him wait for him for at least an hour before taking his call. Putin instead was attending a conference with a bunch of Russian oligarchs instead of getting on the phone with Trump at the scheduled time of the call, and he even openly mocked Trump at the event. Putin was asked on stage about the call and if he was going to be late for it, and Putin waved off the question and said not to listen to his spokesman, and the audience could even be seen laughing at Trump. Here's a rough translation from the conference. Check this out, and remember to add the Midas Touch podcast on Apple and Spotify.
According to Dmitry Sergeyevich Peskov, your conversation with Donald Trump is supposed to happen before 6 o'clock. I don't know how accurate that is. Well, I don't know. Now we need to see what Trump's response is to this statement. Maybe he likes interviews. Let's do it. Maybe he will find out that we have a discussion.
And this is basically how the meeting went.
Okay, Vladimir, it's time to sign the ceasefire. No. Vladimir, it's time. Time for me to say no. How about yes? Make me. Well, look, you look. Right now, you're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. I'm not playing cards. I'm very serious, Mr. President. I'm very serious. You're playing cards. You're gambling with lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. What are you speaking about? And what you're doing is very disrespectful to my country. A country that backed you far more than a lot of people said we should have.
Have you said thank you once?
What the hell is JD doing on this call? He's right. Have you said thank you once in this meeting? And I've said thank you, frankly, a lot of times, even today. So, let's sign the ceasefire. Okay. Let's not.
So, there will be no ceasefire. There'll likely be no big deal with Russia. Putin doesn't give a crap whether or not Trump lifts the sanctions. In fact, he told a bunch of industry leaders in Russia that he doesn't want the sanctions lifted, that Russia's doing better now with the sanctions, and that they are becoming self-sufficient, and that they're making deals with the rest of the world. So basically, screw the United States. That's what Putin said. So ain't nothing happening there, just retardedness. So instead, Trump's going hard. He's hammering everyone with these tariffs, right? But that's blowing up in his face, because not only did he do the psych, we're going to lift the tariffs, we're going to have 90 days, you guys think about it. But Japan, he tried to tariff Japan and bully Japan. And I thought they were one of their closest allies, right? Miss Docile Japan after World War II. Well, turns out they've had enough. And Japan, if Trump doesn't back down, which he will, Japan is going to sink the United States dollar like that.
Japan, one of America's closest allies, just threatened to crash our economy if Trump keeps disrespecting them. Yes, you heard that right. Japan's finance minister just warned the U.S. that if Trump keeps pushing reckless tariffs and insulting their leadership, Japan could use the nuclear option, dumping their $1 trillion in U.S. Treasury holdings. Let that sink in. Not China, not Russia, Japan, the ally we've stood beside for decades, now threatening to pull the plug on our markets. And you know why? Because Trump keeps bragging about a deal with Japan that doesn't exist, because he's treated Japan's trade team like a bunch of interns, because he disrespects leaders, talks in circles, and tries to bully everyone like it's a reality show. And Japan, they've had enough. Their prime minister just said, "We're not rushing. We won't be disrespected. Japan will not keep conceding without return." Even Japan's parliament is calling Trump's negotiation tactics extortion by juvenile delinquents. Their lead negotiator says talks are going badly. Their finance minister is now floating a global financial shock as leverage. This isn't just posturing, this is panic. Because if Japan, the most loyal, polite, diplomatically disciplined nation on earth, is threatening economic retaliation, what does that say about where we are? And here's the kicker. Japan knows the political cost. Their government fears that if they submit to Trump, they'll get mocked, look weak, and be punished at the ballot box. And they're not wrong. We've seen this before in Canada, in Australia, in the UK. The Trump effect isn't just in America. It's spreading. Disrespect your allies, they fight back. Obey him, you collapse. So here's the question. When our friends start sounding like enemies, how much longer can we pretend Trump is just tough on trade and not a threat to global stability? Drop your thoughts, because if Japan's ready to crash our markets, you better believe the world is watching.
And now on to China, because what Trump set in motion is potentially going to destroy America. It's so retarded what he's doing. It makes no sense at all. There is no logic to this. None. This isn't 5D chess. It doesn't even look like the dude can play checkers. Okay? Like, this is retarded. For one, he put on like, 240 something % tariffs on China. Okay. And China just turned around and gave him a big F you. We don't care. And I'll cover a bit more of this in a bit. But when you see how they retaliated, this is just wow. And the consequences are just coming about now. So you're going to want to keep watching. But this is China's reaction to the United States.
Sorry, MAGA, I'm bringing you some bloody truth again. In China, the social media, nobody talk about the tariff. It's like this thing already gone. Nobody cares anymore. In the first beginning, some people talk about it. Then now Donald Trump make a 245 tariff and making lies like China called him. No, China don't even care. Chinese people don't even care at all. We all just having our normal life. Nothing changed, you know? And when you're Donald Trump being desperate, making fake news, say China called him, like, just so ridiculous. We already cut you off. We stopped buying your farmers' products. Stop buying your Hollywood movies. Stop buying so many things, your airplane. Just cut you off. We don't care. Losing you is like a billionaire lost $500,000. Not big deal. And Chinese people, definitely no one cares. We have everything we need. We produce everything we need. You don't. Why I'm talking about this? Because I live in the United States. I know people like you. You have nothing, but you have supremacy. I just so enjoy to break that supremacy bubble of yours.
They rob you blind and you thank them for it. That's a tragedy. That's a scam. That's why I'm saying this right now. Americans, you don't need a tariff. You need a revolution. For decades, your government and oligarchs ship your job to China. Not for diplomacy, not for peace, but to exploit cheap laborers. And in the process, they hollowed out your middle class, crushed your working class, and told you to be proud while they sold your future for profit. And yes, China made money, but we used it to build roads, lift millions out of poverty, fund healthcare, raise living standard. We reinvested in our people. My family also benefited from it. What did your oligarchs do? They bought yachts, private jets, and mansions with golf course driveways. They manipulate the market, dodged tax, and poured billions into endless wars. And you get stagnated wages, crippling healthcare costs, cheap dopamine, debt, and flag wave property made in China while they pick your pocket. For 40 years, both China and the United States benefit from the trade, the manufacturing, but only one of us use that wealth to build. This isn't China's fault. This is yours. You let this happen. You let the oligarchs feed you lies while they made you fat, poor, and addicted. Now they blame China for mess they made. I don't think so. I don't think you need another tariff. You need to wake up. You need to take your country back. I think you need a revolution.
So how did China retaliate? Well, they've done a few things. One of the things they did is they no longer respect copyright. So you can expect to see a bunch of look-alike products, knockoffs basically, but they were all made in China, so it's going to be the exact same quality. You're not going to be able to tell the difference. So there's that, and that's going to flood the world. That's going to kill American corporations. That was a big mistake. Then they imposed their own tariffs, and you're going to see massive layoffs and empty shelves in the United States. The United States is going to cave. They have to. And it's already starting.
What's up, guys? Some important things to talk about here. We've got Slock. He is basically the head guy over at Apollo, putting out a forecast here for the weeks ahead of what they expect to happen. And we've never seen a forecast like this. It's super grim. He's basically stating the obvious, and what I've been trying to tell you guys this whole time, that the ports are a ghost town, and they're going to continue to be all the way up to the week of May 10th, especially. And this is when it's really going to hit home hard. He is warning that store shelves are going to be empty. He's talking about stores that carry all types of product, because people don't realize how much the Chinese goods are in those stores. They're going to get taken by surprise big time. I'm going to try to stitch in a video clip at the end here of people outside of a Costco, the line wrapped out and around the building. And the people are saying they've not seen anything like this since COVID. So during COVID, people were saying, well, my store is fine. And then the next thing you know, because they didn't listen, they ended up getting blindsided. They seen it all happening. They watched it, but they went to the store and they were like, oh, everything's fine. And they didn't stock up. The next thing you know, their store got hit. And this is going to reach far and wide. This is going to reach not just across the country here in America, but this is going to have reverberating effects around the globe. So long lines already forming at these stores, warning signs being put out left and right, and it's crunch time. It's actually already begun. So this is going to escalate. I would say have a plan, start growing, sun shining, it's spring, have some chickens to produce eggs and start growing. It's that time anyway. And try your hand at a garden. This is going to help in terms of the food mitigation. That's the most important right now. Also, try to pick up some filtering to clean water, any water that you can catch as well, to reduce cost in that region as well. I've said for years, try to get on solar, get off grid, to try to avoid some of these chaotic events that are going to unfold. And this one, right on schedule here, and it doesn't look like it's going to get any better. China obviously is hurting from this already. We see it in the headlines. We hear it from the reports and from the stores themselves there saying that they're closing down. So expect this to affect dock workers, warehouse workers, trucking. These are all things that they're saying out of Apollo, warning that all kinds of sectors are about to get hit hard and that people are just about to get caught off guard because they won't listen.
Finally, it happened. China has pulled the ground from under Donald Trump's feet. His throne is shaking, the carpet is being pulled out from under him, and all of Trump's carefully laid plans are falling apart. Just one strategic move from China is enough to force Trump to withdraw all his tariffs. A time is coming when Trump will be ready to surrender to China, And that moment is almost here. And after that, you will see the finalization of the deal. The person you see on your screen is one of the world's most brilliant economists. He said, Jeffrey Sachs, said that if Donald Trump were his student, he would have never allowed him to make such a disastrous move. This trade war can have only one winner, China. China's economic rise came from exports. America, on the other hand, spends money by borrowing. It doesn't earn as much as it owes. In such a situation, this economist warned that this war has reached a dangerously critical level and Trump is going to lose. America is on the verge of defeat while China is emerging as the victor. He also warned that soon, neither the U.S. bonds nor the dollar will remain secure. We've already lost this economic war. Remember, this is the same man whose tweets Trump used to retweet, whose videos he used to share. And now this same person says Trump is heading toward massive defeat. Now understand the real and dangerous scenario that has emerged. U.S. Treasury bonds have started to sell off in the market. This usually happens when governments need funding for public spending and issue bonds to raise money. Bonds are usually seen as safe investments. But for the first time, China started selling U.S. bonds aggressively, followed by other investors and common people. This shows a global lack of confidence in the U.S. government under Trump. When people buy bonds, they believe they are safe. But now even U.S. bonds are being dumped, and that's a red flag. Trump's fight was to bring interest rates down so borrowing would be cheaper and people could afford loans. But now, to attract buyers for bonds, the U.S. will have to raise interest rates, which destroys Trump's whole plan. Investors are pulling money out. Banks aren't lending. And all of this thanks to China's smart move. Now, Trump is telling investors to invest more, but they're all backing out. The Federal Reserve Chairman refused to lower interest rates, saying that doing so would make things worse and lead to even more bond sell-offs. Trump's own advisors and economists are now telling him, "You were wrong." Jeffrey Sachs said, "We have lost this war badly. When trade flows, economies survive. But when trade halts, economies crash, and that's what's happening. America spends money it doesn't earn. China manufactures and exports. That's the difference. When America can no longer pay its debt, it moves toward default and has to raise its debt ceiling, causing inflation and economic chaos." Trump's dream was to bring interest rates down to 3%, thinking it would revive the economy. But now banks aren't even giving loans. They're scared of instability. Major international investors, including from Japan and the Middle East, are not investing in the U.S. anymore. Jeffrey Sachs said, "We already had a $2 trillion deficit, and Trump's actions caused a $10 trillion market crash. When one part of the global economy collapses, everything collapses. But China, with surplus cash and production capacity, can survive. It doesn't depend on others. America does. It even imports basic goods from China. Now Trump is cornered. The only way out is to surrender and call Chinese President Xi Jinping to negotiate. And if Trump does surrender, it won't be on American terms. It will be on China's. And China's terms won't be easy. They are known worldwide for negotiating from a position of power. Now think, if both countries remove tariffs, China wins. What happened to Trump's claim that companies would shift from China to the U.S.? With no tariffs, the goods will keep coming from China. Trump is now taxing incoming ships and containers from China. Another desperate move. He must realize that not every country gives in to pressure. Europe hasn't. Others are holding strong. That's why Trump offered 90 days of tariff relief. It wasn't charity, it was panic. He even said a few days ago that he's ready to make a great deal with Xi Jinping. What does that mean? He's ready to forget everything, if China just calls. So in summary, Trump is on the brink of surrender. Once he does, America's global image, power, and influence will crumble even more. But China has survived. Yes, it suffered $500 billion in losses, but it still managed to survive. America, with trillions in lost trade and no new imports, is suffering far more.
Yeah, but that wasn't the killer move. It is for the economy and stuff like that. And Trump will cave. He has to. But he's already caving in other areas. You're going to like how this all ends, I think. You know, chin up. This is going to be a good show. I think by the end you're going to be happy. But so what did China do? You always hear on American news the Iran-backed Houthis, right? Ansar Allah from Yemen, Iran-backed Houthis. You never hear them say the Zionist-occupied United States, but Iran-backed Houthis. What a crock of shit. Yes, Iran does back the Houthis, but they don't need to get weapons from Iran. They can make them themselves, and they are. But who is really teaching them how? Who is providing them the tech and the know-how? And from what I'm going to show you, also the satellite guidance so they can do advanced targeting far away, like in Israel. Well, was it Iran? No, it's China.
China's response extends beyond trade, with Yemen emerging as a critical theatre for Beijing's strategic pushback. Over the past decade, China has quietly deepened ties with Yemen's armed forces, providing economic aid and indirect military support through regional partners. Since 2015, Chinese firms have invested in Yemen's infrastructure, including ports and energy projects, fostering goodwill amid the country's humanitarian crisis. While direct military aid remains discreet, intelligence sharing and dual-use technology transfers have bolstered Yemen's armed forces capabilities, enabling them to challenge US and Saudi-led coalitions. This cooperation aligns with China's broader Belt and Road Initiative, which seeks to secure maritime routes through the Red Sea. Yemen's armed forces, emboldened by Chinese support, have intensified their campaign against US operations in the region. On April 9, 2025, they claim to have downed a US MQ-9 Reaper drone over Al-Jof, showcasing advanced anti-aircraft systems suspected to incorporate Chinese technology. The group's resilience, despite over 200 US airstrikes since March 15, 2025, underscores China's role in preventing their collapse. Beijing's strategy appears to mirror its approach in other proxy conflicts, using Yemen as a testing ground to refine tactics and weapon systems while draining US resources. The US military's $1 billion operation against Yemen's armed forces has yielded limited results, highlighting the group's tactical sophistication. China's cooperation with Yemen's armed forces is not new, but has evolved significantly. In 2017, Chinese diplomats facilitated back-channel talks to stabilize Yemen's economy, providing $150 million in humanitarian aid through UN channels. By 2020, Chinese companies were supplying drones and communication equipment to regional allies, some of which reached Yemen's fighters. These transfers, while not officially acknowledged, have enhanced the group's ability to target US naval assets in the Red Sea. Beijing's plausible deniability allows it to maintain diplomatic cover while countering US influence in the Middle East. The current state of China-Yemen ties reflects a pragmatic alliance. Beijing views Yemen's armed forces as a counterweight to US dominance, particularly in strategic choke points like the Bab al-Mandab Strait. In 2024, China reportedly increased intelligence sharing, providing satellite imagery and electronic warfare expertise to disrupt US operations. This support has enabled Yemen's fighters to evade precision strikes, with only 60 reported deaths despite intense US bombing campaigns. The group's acquisition of hydrogen fuel cell drones, noted in early 2025, suggests advanced technological backing, likely from Chinese sources. Economically, China has filled the void left by the US, which terminated USAID contracts worth millions in Yemen on April 7, 2025. These cuts, affecting food and medical aid, have worsened Yemen's humanitarian crisis, allowing China to step in with targeted assistance. Beijing's $200 million pledge to Yemen's reconstruction in 2024, channeled through local authorities, has strengthened its influence. This aid, coupled with trade agreements bypassing US sanctions, ensures Yemen's armed forces maintain logistical networks, further frustrating US efforts to isolate them. Militarily, China's indirect support has transformed Yemen's armed forces into a formidable force. Reports from 2023 indicate that Chinese-made radar systems and missile guidance technology, routed through third parties, have enhanced the group's precision strikes. On April 6, 2025, Yemen's fighters launched a drone attack on a US base in Marib, wounding 20 personnel. Such operations, enabled by Chinese intelligence, expose vulnerabilities in US defences, and erode Trump's narrative of military dominance. Beijing's strategy is clear. Empower proxies to bog down US forces while avoiding direct confrontation. The trade war's escalation has amplified China's resolve to use Middle Eastern allies to counter US pressure. Beyond Yemen, China has strengthened ties with the Lebanese resistance and the Palestine resistance.
Yeah, more on the Houthis in a little bit. It's going to blow your mind, but let's go to Israel because it's all tied in, right? The criminal state, the Jews should never have their own state from which to run their criminal mafia from, because that's what they do and that's what they have been doing. They should not have the power of a state. But they're crumbling, man, from within and from without. They will be no more very soon. Here's the first little bit about how they're crumbling from within. Civil war, Jew upon Jew. Very soon, Jew killing Jew. That will be an interesting thing to watch.
Right, so it is going brutally wrong for Benjamin Netanyahu right now in the most delightful way for those of us who are actually human in this world, those of us opposed to Israel's genocide, because if there's one thing Israel needs, and has been struggling to gain numbers of for quite a while now, it is soldiers with which to keep the genocide going. And on that front, Netanyahu is now facing a crisis on a scale never before seen in Israel's history. For so long, the IDF has been viewed as the ever-obedient institution prepared to carry out the most appalling and reprehensible acts of genocide that it is ordered to do. 51,000 people dead in Gaza at their hands. Entire neighbourhoods reduced to rubble by their hands. No such thing as an off-limits target, with hospitals, schools and refugee camps all targeted. And yet for those same soldiers, the very purpose of their actions, in their eyes, is not being achieved. And actually, governmental orders have run counter to those goals, namely the rescue of those hostages still held by Hamas. Instead, more and more the ongoing genocide, particularly the resumption of it following the collapse of the recent Gaza ceasefire, is increasingly being seen as for Netanyahu's benefit only, even in Israel. That he has turned the war into a personal lifeline, appeasing his far-right coalition partners Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich, while ignoring the growing dissent within his own military, and the cost is staggering. The Golani Brigades, Unit 8200, the intelligence spies, the Air Force, and some 40% of all reservists are all now downing tools and refusing to fight. And quite how Netanyahu hopes to keep this war going with so many in the military refusing orders, I can't fathom. But Netanyahu is not listening either. Instead of reassessing his strategy, he is purging the dissenters, doubling down on a failing campaign, and ensuring that more Israelis and Palestinians will die, not for Israel's security, but only for his political survival. This negligence has sparked fury within the IDF on an unprecedented scale now, though. This began ostensibly about a week ago, with a letter having been signed by some 1,000 Israeli reservists from the Air Force, demanding that getting the hostages back be prioritised over the continuation of the war, which they have also said is being driven for personal and political reasons in a direct and quite obvious swipe at Benjamin Netanyahu. So what did Netanyahu do? He dismissed them all from service. Only around 10% of these were on active duty, though. The rest were either retired or not in service. So if that had been it, there wouldn't be much of a story here. But as it happens, it's just the tip of the iceberg. The following day, soldiers in Unit 8200, Israel's most secretive intelligence unit, publicly backed the reservists' call, added their names to a joint letter, a second one, demanding the hostages be put first, even if that means ending the war in Gaza. An excerpt from the Cradle on their 2 cents worth, stating that the 8200 officers said, "We identify with the grave and troubling assertion that at this time the war serves primarily political and personal interests, not security interests. Continuing the war contributes nothing to its stated objectives and will lead to the deaths of hostages, IDF soldiers, and innocent civilians. We are concerned about the erosion of the reserve force and the growing rates of non-reporting for duty, and we worry about the long-term consequences of this trend. Only an agreement can bring the hostages back safely, while military pressure mainly results in the killing of hostages and endangers our soldiers," the letter continued. "Every day that passes, their lives are at risk. Every additional moment of hesitation is a disgrace. Hundreds of reservist officers, active duty soldiers and retired officers signed the letter, Israel's public broadcaster Kan reported on Friday. The soldiers from Unit 8200 published the letter a day after around 1,000 Israeli reservist soldiers from the Air Force signed a letter of protest demanding the prioritization of returning captives from Gaza over the continuation of the war, which they say is being led for personal and political reasons. And on top of that, even elite combat units, traditionally the most loyal to the IDF's command, you would imagine, are now breaking ranks over this too. Members of the Golani Brigade, one of Israel's most storied infantry units, have signed a petition to end the war for the sake of the hostages too. And Press TV picked this story up, their piece saying, Israeli Army radio reported that 150 Golani Brigade soldiers have put their signatures on the letter demanding immediate negotiations aimed at securing the release of Israeli captives held in Gaza. Since Thursday, at least 10 petitions have circulated against the continuation of the Gaza offensive, saying the Tel Aviv regime should prioritise the return of Israeli captives, even if it means ending the war. The first petition was signed by nearly 1,000 current and former Israeli Air Force reservists who said the Gaza onslaught serves mainly political and personal interests, not security interests. Lots and lots of publications all repeating that same line, that same narrative, all on the same page. And these are not reservists here in the Golani Brigades making this call now, therefore, either. These are frontline soldiers, Unit 8200 intelligence operatives, publicly rejecting their own government strategy now. The people who fire the weapons, who commit the atrocity, who provide the intelligence, and without whom there would be no atrocity, are now saying something has to shift. But this isn't even the worst of it. The most damning indictment of Netanyahu's war comes from within the military's highest ranks, and have come from a guy Netanyahu is full of admiration for, because this is his brand new appointed Chief of Staff, Eyal Zamir, now making his opinion known. He has recently made it clear that Hamas is not defeated, despite months of claims to the contrary, and have been steadily rebuilding their numbers. Israeli forces are overstretched, struggling to maintain operations, with as many operations as they are currently conducting, not just in Gaza, of course, but the West Bank, Lebanon, and Syria, fighting the Houthis as well, whilst demanding war with Iran at the same time, and all at the same time that their numbers, or the numbers in the IDF, are going down, refusing to fight, signing petitions demanding a change of tack. Most damning of all, the war is unsustainable without massive reinforcements as a result of that, which very much leads on to the worst bit for Netanyahu. Because the most staggering sign of dissent is the mass refusal of reservists to now report for duty. Estimates suggest over 100,000 reservists, that's 40% of Israel's reserve forces, are now refusing to serve, citing their objections to the genocide in Gaza, citing their frustration with Netanyahu's political manipulation of the war to benefit himself and his own interests above those of the hostages. And there is also the international travel restrictions imposed on IDF soldiers due to war crimes allegations, which I reported on more of just the other day. This is the largest military resistance movement in Israel's history, surpassing even the Refusnik protests during the First Lebanon War. The army itself is now questioning, finally, their own government and its motivations versus them putting their lives on the line, in their view, to rescue hostages. The hostages have never mattered to Netanyahu. In my opinion, if it's taken this long for IDF soldiers and reservists to wake up to this, then they are either really flaming slow or just kidding themselves, and really they're just sick of all of this now, which I could just as easily believe. Suddenly finding their morals, I'm certainly not buying. Fundamentally, Israel can go to hell in a handcart, as can the hostages, as far as Netanyahu is concerned. He would see that country completely implode, because the only thing that matters to him is himself, at all times, always, 24/7. He will continue to carry on the war indefinitely to avoid corruption charges. He will suppress dissent by purging critics from the military. But more and more are joining the cause against him, against what he's doing. So how many more can he dismiss when he already faces massive military shortages? And he will continue above all else to keep himself in power by appeasing his far-right allies who demand total annihilation of Gaza and the complete ethnic cleansing of all of the people there. It would all come at a massive cost to Israel itself, though. The hostages are being forgotten and will be forgotten, and who knows what their fate will be. The IDF is fracturing, and the more Netanyahu ignores them or attacks them, the more bitter relations with them will become. And where Israel is already a pariah state globally and IDF soldiers risk arrest if they travel abroad, Israel's global isolation will continue to therefore deepen. Ultimately, the IDF's revolt is not just about still being in Gaza or rescuing the hostages. It's about whether Israel will continue to be held hostage itself by a leader who values his own power over his own country's future, because that is Benjamin Netanyahu summed up in a single sentence. In my view, it's a collapse that cannot come fast enough for the sake of all of Palestine.
Now, if that wasn't good enough news for you, it gets even better. I tell you, God hates the Jews, man. And here's proof. They've been attacked by lynx. They've been attacked by cows. They've been attacked by sharks. They're flooding and burning at the same time. Here's the floods and the fires, which apparently they started themselves thinking it would hurt the Palestinians, and then the wind changed. Yeah, God hates them.
מה זה? גושים של ברד, כל זה. וואו.
אל תנסי לעבור.
מי שרוצה לשים בשר בהקפאה, תביאו לפה בהמוניכם. תקשיבי.
Now, if that's not bad enough for Israel, it gets even better, man. The Houthis defeated the United States. Yeah. Okay. So here's what's been going on. You know, they have China's help and all, after all. But the Reaper drones, they've since I guess Biden started bombing them, and then Trump started bombing them. They've knocked out 22, I think it is at this point, Reaper drones. And what they've been doing is, because all of their missiles are underground. They're like Iran. They have extensive underground facilities. And that's where they manufacture their own missiles and train their people. So there's nothing above ground to target other than civilians. And of course, you know, despotic Jews in America under Zionist occupation, they're war criminals. They've been killing civilians. But that doesn't stop the Houthis. These people are unstoppable, unbreakable spirit. I love them, man. I really do. Well, here, I wasn't going to throw this clip in, but I'm going to throw it in anyhow, just because I was talking about this. Check out this kid. Now, I used AI to translate what he was saying from Arabic to English. For some reason, the AI took the name Israel and translated it as ISIS, which is about the same thing, except for ISIS doesn't have jets. They're Jews. They're controlled by Jews anyhow, but they don't have jets. But look at this kids. They're in the middle of a bombing. There's 2 explosions that just went off. This kid's, I don't know, he's a kid. Nerves of steel. Love warrior spirit like this. Love seeing this.
At this moment, ISIS bombed. Look at the biggest bombing. But right now, we are in the middle of the bombing. There. Look Look over there. They destroyed the entire airport. Believe me, followers, don't be afraid. We have God with us. And who do you have? We certainly have God with us. Those who attack us, attack us. Those who attack us, saying this, and that happened to us. Followers, don't be afraid. We are with our Lord. Look at how big the bombing is, and that distant bombing over there. Just a while ago, I found the atmosphere coming towards me, and I saw the fire flying like this.
So the way they've been taking out the Reaper drones is that they put out decoys, and because everything's underground, the United States, their satellites and shit like that doesn't make a difference. And so the only way that they can target their assets is with these Reaper drones. So they've been putting up their air defense systems. I'm not sure where they got them, probably China. But anyway, so they've been putting out their air defense systems beside these decoys, and a $30 million drone comes in and they just blow it up. They've been hitting aircraft carriers. And right now, I think the straw that broke the camel's back was 2 fighter jets. I think it was a Hornet and then an F-35 have been lost. The Hornet, they claim the aircraft carrier had to make emergency maneuvers because missiles were coming in and then it fell off the side. And then just this today, and then of course the aircraft carriers, although it's been denied by the states, they have been hit and they're not in good shape. So you know what? Donald Trump has just announced that a peace deal with the Houthis. Of course, he lies and he says that they wanted a peace deal and stuff like that, and they're going to stop fighting as long as America stops bombing them. But the thing is that the Houthis has never agreed. They agreed that they'll stop hitting American warships if America stops attacking them. Okay. But they're not going to stop attacking Israel. You know, that is so cool. You know, like, they defeated the United States. And you think the United States is going to attack Iran now? You know, of course, you know, they're under the Zionist control. It's entirely possible, you know, that maybe the United States doesn't want to try to take on the Houthis and Iran at the same time. But if you can't beat the Houthis, Iran is like, I don't know, exponentially more powerful and with better weapons. The United States will see their aircraft carriers sunk, and they know it. The Houthis were very close to sinking an aircraft carrier, and that would absolutely destroy any projection of power that the United States has. So they capitulated. Donald Trump capitulated to the Houthis.
That the Houthis are backing down. We're seeing conflicting reports that they plan on continuing to attack Israel in support of Gaza. Does that change the equation?
No, I don't know about that, frankly, but I know one thing: they want nothing to do with us, and they've let that be known through all of their surrogates, and very strongly.
And it keeps getting better. Not only did the United States capitulate, but Israel didn't know about these talks. Israel didn't know that the United States was going to throw in the towel and leave them hanging. But on top of that, you know, the Houthis are still putting a blockade on. They're bankrupting the Israeli ports. And things are getting serious now for Israel. And on top of that, they now have a blockade, an aerial blockade. Like, Israel's more or less a no-fly zone because the Houthis' new missiles that they make themselves are able to bypass all of the air defense systems that Israel has. Not just Israel. Here, I'll show you all the missiles journey and the accomplishment that the Houthis are able to do in a second. But there's now no way for Israel to get out. So if Jews want to flee Israel, how? They can't take the airports. They're shut down. The Houthis are able to hit them. And they've said, hey, aerial blockade, no planes in or out for your own safety. So, man, the Jews are screwed. But, yeah, this is great news. This is what the Houthis accomplished. Here's how their missile got them striking the Ben Gurion airport, and, of course, the Jews' look on their face when it hit. This is like I said, isn't this a good show? And it still gets better.
You should have heard about the news of today, the big news of today. Yemeni missile hit Ben Gurion airport. But when Yemenis from here want to hit a target in occupied Palestine here, they face at least 4 layers of defense. The first layer is the layer of defense by CENTCOM. CENTCOM is here. So we have CENTCOM. That is actually United States of America, US Army at this region. So they form the first layer of defense. Second layer is by Saudi Arabia. So when the Yemeni missiles want to, travel this distance, they may enter the Saudi airspace. So again, you have a layer of the Saudi defense. And after that, you have the Egyptian layer, which is here, because sometimes they cross this, way to reach the target in the occupied lands of Palestine. So this is the third layer. And the fourth layer is actually the Israeli layer that is here. The Israeli layer itself is consistent of at least 3 separate layers. But the Yemeni missile crossed all these defense layers and hit Ben Gurion. That's a miracle. Long live Palestine.
Whoa! 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 Whoa, it's a boom! Whoa! Yo! 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 To the same place.
Now, for the latest breaking, this is, probably yesterday by the time I get this show out there. But, today, for me, there's a war that's broken out between India and Pakistan. And here's a dude that's completely oblivious to what's going on below him. He's on a zipline ride when what is alleged to be Pakistani terrorists, which are not, I'll show you that in a second, alleged to be Pakistani terrorists attacking India, and this is what apparently sparked this conflict. This is funny, though, because this guy has no clue what's going on. Like I said, allegedly Pakistani terrorist, but it's not. According to the Pakistani news, it's Mossad. Every single time, right? Literally every single time.
Every single time, behind every crime, a Nosberg Sheckelstein. It's every single time, say it with me. Every time, single berg time. Oh, it's every single fucking time. Oh, it's every every single fucking time.
And now, well, India is gearing up for war.
Left, right, right.
Now, sure, they are both nuclear powers, but it's India and Pakistan. From what I hear, Pakistan apparently caved to America and gave all their artillery and a lot of their weapons to Ukraine. And the way this is going to turn out, and my best guess, is that Russia is likely going to be a mediator. Apparently, though, 2 jets have been shot down by Pakistan, 2 Indian jets, and, there is some serious fighting going, so it could get hairy or whatever, but you can't. It's India and Pakistan, man. You gotta have some fun with this, no? I'm going to. I think this is what it sounds like on the front lines. It's a real shit show, you know what I mean?
Are you crazy?
You're fucking
paranoid,
you are
fucking, you are fucking.
You fucking, you bloody.
You bloody.
Fuck you, bloody. Bastard, bitch.
You
fuck you,
fuck
fuck
you.
you. Bloody, fuck you, bloody. Fucking mother, bloody, fuck, bitch.
Bitch, you
bloody,
what
fuck
you
you, you. Fucking bloody bastard. Benchwood, bloody.
Benchwood, you.
You blunder.
No, but why? Is
Bloody no.
Why?
Bloody
That
fucking.
is accident then.
You're fucking paranoid,
You are
man.
fucking, you are fucking.
You fucking, you bloody.
You bloody, you bloody.
So, we see the Jews going down. They're still doing their douchebaggery. But what's important here is that we understand that we are rising, man. And even in countries like Germany, which is completely cucked, ever since World War II, we've been completely under the thumb of the Jew.
I was at court today. I was witnessing a court case where a Berliner was convicted of trivializing the Holocaust because in November 2023 she went to parliament with a sign. It was basically her alone, a sign on which it was written, "Have we learned nothing from the Holocaust?" Today, on the 24th of April 2025, she was convicted for incitement to hatred, for basically trivializing the Holocaust by this question. This is really, really unsettling. This is the state of the German judicial system. This was a German Berlin judge who ruled that this was a criminal offense. She was convicted of paying 1,500 euros. Needless to say that her lawyers announced that they would appeal this decision, and also needless to say that this is never gonna hold up in higher courts. It is crazy because the lawyer presented a verdict from the same court in January where someone was holding a sign saying "Stop the Palestinian Holocaust," and the other judge, rightfully so, was ruling that this is not a trivialization of the Holocaust because there are multiple ways for this to be interpreted. And but here we are. One judge not respecting the ruling of another judge and giving almost no reason for this verdict why this should be a trivialization of the Holocaust. Rough times, dears, in Germany.
But that's the old generation. The new generation is going back to their roots.
You identify yourself politically?
I'm a National Socialist.
Okay, so just so I understand this clearly, if someone referred to you as a Nazi, would you accept that description?
Yes. I don't have a problem with this, yes.
Okay. Do the rest of your family, do they feel the same way as you do?
No. And the most young Germans that are political, that share my views, aren't have parents with our views, because the generation of our parents is mostly left-wing, but our generation is getting more and more right-wing.
And then obviously there is a stigma around some of the stuff you said. Do you think that that's changing? Do you think
Yes, that's really changing because of people like me that are such standing here and saying openly what they think. So that's a signal for other young Germans to do the same.
And in Australia, Joel Davis, man, he's been knocking it out of the park. I love this message. Are you dangerous? Yes.
Conservatives say you don't want to do anything that makes people upset. Apparently in politics, you just want to make everyone happy. Well, the thing is, if you are happy with the state of our country, you're a fucking idiot at best, or you're straight up fucked in the head. We do not want people to be happy. We want people to be fucking angry. We're fucking angry. Why do you go in black shirts? You look so militant. Yes! We are fucking militant! Do you think that we are going to beat these fucking Jews without being militant? Do you know what's bad optics? The fucking left-wing rallies where they burn Australian flags, chant death to Australia. That's bad optics. But they fucking win. You know why? Because they have fucking emotion. They don't repress their emotion. And they demand that everyone feel what they're feeling. That's how you win. But also, when the left get emotional, everyone who's normal goes, look at these fucking idiots, I fucking hate these cunts. Right? And there's nothing that pisses them off more than us. So wouldn't it be a great idea to make them really angry at us so that everyone that hates them goes, wait a second, the cunts I'm angry at really hate these guys. So look at these guys. You have an inherent polarity because politics is founded on a debate in a liberal democracy. It's founded on an opposition between two positions or maybe three positions, four positions, and they're vying for your vote, they're vying for your support. It's built on dialectic is a word you can use to describe it. Now, if you run to the center, all you do is you push that center away from you because the center is always the balance between the left and the right. So the more that you run towards the center, the more you push the center towards the left. What does the left do? Does the left run to the center? Very rarely. The left turns around and bolts to the left. And it's been doing it for decades. What has happened? The center has shifted with them. Why? Because if you turn around and bolt to the opposite polarity, you stretch the conversation out, and now the center moves. What we're doing is we're turning around and bolting to the fucking right. If you want to move the center to the right, that's how you do it. If you run to the center, you push it to the left. The conservatives are responsible for pushing the center to the left, and we will be responsible for pulling it to the right.
And in America, we got Patriot Front. I know, I said in previous episodes a long time ago that at one time I thought they were feds. I no longer think that. Not even close. In fact, I think he's just they're white nationalists. And listen to his message, man. What do you disagree with here? I think this guy's spot on, man. Spot freaking on.
Goal. What is Patriot Front's goal? The goal of the organization is ultimately the establishment of representative national government across the continent. A government that upholds patriotic virtues among a citizenry that upholds social virtues. A state firmly rooted in the principles of natural law and a people strong and resolute against any corruption. What does that look like in practice? Ending mass immigration for good. Sending foreign elements in this country, exploiting government programs and our people back where they came from. Dismantling the Israel lobby in America, from every politician with dual citizenship to every NGO funding social change. Protecting the sanctity of families, not just in the womb, but in the acts of marriage or buying a home. Defending American labor against multinational businesses that ship our industry overseas and that undercut our workers in favor of foreign sweatshops. Promoting and instilling a culture of health and vitality among our nation's youth, drug-free, active, and educated in the principles of their culture. Bringing the true facts of our history back to the forefront. The men who created this country and made it so great were only able to do so because of their nationalist principles. Recognizing the natural truth of race once again in our legislatures. A government which refuses to acknowledge the systematic, biological, and sociological impacts of the key human characteristics of race will be helplessly dysfunctional. The title of American, which belongs to us, is not granted by the stroke of a pen, but by the natural affiliation with the people of the nation. America was built by the diaspora of the European race, and its culture and forms of government were created with that in mind. Every other nation have their countries. We aim to have ours. We seek to change lives, minds, and bodies. And through that, we will create an organized and educated collective of men across the country whose positive effects will radiate out through their families, communities, and ultimately their constituencies. If the government refuses to acknowledge the interest of the true American people, we will simply build one in the vision of our gallant forefathers that will. Everything we believe, we are working on today. It's not theoretical, it's actual.
And I always like to work a song in these shows. This one's no exception, and I think this song fits the episode.
I often get millions and millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of anti-Semitic messages. It's crazy. So people will tweet a picture of 2 ovens, double ovens, and it says Jewish bunk beds on it.
I wouldn't even look at my Twitter for you.
Yeah, I don't look at it very often for this reason.
Well, that's all I got for you today, Patriots. You know, when that Ukrainian spy, I think I might have shared a bit too much information, help track me down. So all weird stuff started happening, kept losing internet. just weird stuff. And maybe I'm paranoid, but I've since I started this, I've not stayed in one place for, geez, usually it's months, definitely not longer than a year. This is a dangerous thing, showing your face and naming the Jew. It's not. All the movies about mafia, they weren't about Italians. If you substitute that for Jews, then it makes sense. The Italians just got the bad rap, I guess. But it's all Jews, man. So, there is a criminal mafia that, I'm taking on here. I couldn't do it without your help. And this, moving expenses and everything else, so I can keep doing this. It's your contributions that allow me to do this, and I'm very grateful. I couldn't do this without you. Here's the link, givesendgo.com/son of Enos. One thing I get a lot on social media, and I'll leave my social media links in the description here. I'm on Twitter. I'm back on Gab. And I'm on Telegram, and I have a chat group on Telegram. So there's lots of ways to contact me that way if you want to do it. If you're on any of those platforms, you can always send me a message. Not a problem. One of the things that I get a lot is hopelessness. People thinking that all hope is gone. They're going to do this to us. They're going to do that to us. You know what? That is victim mentality. It's weakness. That's not us. No, look at this episode. Do you think the Jews are winning? Really? The people that are feeling that way, it's because they're looking too close. They're not taking the 60,000 foot view and seeing the whole thing as everything's unfolding. We're winning. Absolutely. If this episode hasn't convinced you of that, I don't know what will. Maybe a coming episode soon where Israel gets flattened. That would be an awesome episode. I'm looking forward to that. And I got a couple other things on the go too. One is fortunately, prion, COVID zombies, we're not out of the jab zombies, we're not out of the woods yet. There's lots of evidence coming out about prions. And I'm going to do a show just on that at some time into the future when news calms down a bit and I could focus more on other things. Another one that I'm actually collaborating with a group of people from several different countries, including in Iran and other countries, in Romania. And it's about the indigenous white people, the Aryans, the journey of the Aryans and who they are, who are the Israelites, the real Israelites, not the fake Jews, not and I got proof. I'm going to nail this. It's something that I've been slowly collecting information on for a long time. But now that I got some people that I've been discussing that will collaborate with me, I even have someone in Palestine that I intend to do some work with. So, and she's a journalist, if she stays alive, that is, it's very dangerous. I talk about the danger I put myself in. But being on the ground in Palestine as a journalist and you're covering the genocide, Israel's killed lots of journalists. She's a brave woman. And I look forward, hopefully she'll collaborate with this Aryan project too. If not, then, just having boots on the ground in Palestine and to get the real gist of what's going on, I think is going to be an asset. So there's a lot of good things coming, and also now that I finally got a new setup here, once I'm more settled in, I do intend to do shows way more often. My life has been chaotic, having to find a place, having to relocate, having to, go to a different city even, so It's not easy things to do, but now that I'm starting to get settled and I got this area here I can work, not quite an office, but close enough, that's going to make a big difference. I'm hoping to pump the shows out, way more often. My goal, don't hold me to this because, sometimes with the research and everything, it takes me longer. Before I'm ready to do a show, I got to have all the material and have something to say. I don't want to waste your time just doing fluff pieces. That's not me. But yeah, things are looking good. So chin up, man. We're doing awesome. We're winning this, and the Jews are losing. What better place to be than Earth right now? No matter all the chaos and everything else, we're going to witness the fall of the Jew world order without a doubt. And then after that, the real golden age of peace, not the fake Trump one or anything else. Oh, one more thing. I'm going to work one more clip into this. Just the nail in the coffin of the Q thing, I think. 4chan. The majority of the posts on 4chan are from Jews, are from Israel. Does that mean Q was a Jew? Was that a Jew plot? You tell me, but here, check this out.
Half of the posts ever posted on 4chan/poll, the political board, which is international, were posted by Israel. Not under an Israeli flag, because you can use any flag, but from the nation of Israel using an Israeli IP address. You may remember all sorts of propaganda pieces saying that 4chan is subject to Russian propaganda, and all these information posters are running out of Russian servers. But to no one's surprise, twice the number of posts compared to even America were coming from Israel because they run bot farms. The Israeli Internet Defense Force runs automated systems to post demoralization and all sorts of disgusting things on this platform. And this is any time after 2014. So this is everything in the last decade. They also automatically report things that are critical of their country and have them taken down on Meta. Here's the number of posts reported by Israeli government over time by country of origin, and the number of posts actioned upon by Meta over time by country of origin. If you're on a visa or you're emigrating here and you ever critically speak about that country, you may be deported. You may have preconceived notions about what the boards are like, and you may be right, you may be wrong, but boards are really a place for demoralization and a psychological operation meant to break people, cause more infighting, cause instability, and cause people to either snap or to disregard anything that they learn and believe.
Yeah, disappointing, huh? I know I was. Like I said, I was a believer. I trusted the plan. If you've been watching my episodes for some time, and there's nothing to be ashamed about that. You had your heart in the right place, and the evidence was supporting it. Up until, the Zionist Jewish takeover and the evident subservience to Jews. That made it just crystal clear what side Trump's on. And I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news if you're still a believer with that or hoping for some kind of great alliance or whatever. But you know what? There is a plan, and it's God's plan, and God wins. So that means we win. We are winning, and we will win. That's just how it goes. So don't be down. Don't be thinking that at the end of the world. The storm will pass. All the hardship, maybe the financial douchebaggery that's going on, everything else, everything will pass. We will survive this. Take some precautions, if you can arm yourself. I suggest that, and if you can learn to hunt, learn to fish, that's good. Learn to feed yourself, learn some survival skills if you need to. But all this stuff is important anyhow, no matter what happens. These are basic things that everyone should know. But till my next episode, I'm anticipating that we're going to continue seeing the fall of the Jew world order. What better news could there be than that? Till next time, we are the news now. Peace.